Hi, welcome to Sneedworks. I'm Brad. On this one, I'm going to help the 50 breathe a little bit better because of the whole fiasco that I just got done going through, which was replacing the rear main seal. The more research that I've been doing is probably because I put a bunch of race car parts internally in that engine for a street car. They didn't really need it. And I'm running stock valve covers right now. So I'm thinking that, well, this is going to help it out. So let's get to unboxing this. I'll show you what I got. We'll go from there. So Brian Tooley Racing actually jumped on board for my build because I gave one of their vendors full asking price for a set of their valve covers. In all seriousness, I went with these because they're very clean looking and they should help breathe a lot better than the factory valve covers do. If you look down, especially on the passenger side, what you're working with there, it's very small and very minimal. And like I said before, I put forged internals on the bottom end of this engine, and that was cool, but dumb at the same time. It definitely didn't need that, so hopefully these guys will help with that. Ooh. So I went with the coil mount that mounts onto it. I'm really hoping that it clears everything, but we're going to find out. I thought it was kind of a cool layout because it well, you'll see, but it stacks them side by side, 2 by 2. Comes with a bunch of hardware. And these are the valve covers themselves. So I went with these because obviously there's no logo on them whatsoever. And I thought that was a very clean look. And you can see like how big the baffles are. Maybe that's a 12 AM. Bung on each end for each one. So one will get plugged, and then one will be the breather on one side, and then one will be the oil cap, and the other one will be the breather on the other side. If that makes sense. I got to test fit these just to make sure that they work with my setup first. And then these are going to get a coat of the bronze color that everything else is. So I think it's going to look really sweet, really clean. But like I said, we got to test fit this up first and make sure that it all works before I go ahead and paint these things. Otherwise, we might have to save these for another project, and then this video won't make any sense and come out at all. So, cool. Yeah, what else do I have? So these valve covers actually only will work, or this setup here will work with the truck style, the later model truck style coils themselves. I had a pack of these sitting around because I got a 6.0 over there that I was going to use these on, but now we're just flip-flopping parts. That's the beauty of an LS. And then I also got some new wiring harness here. I'm not a fan of the plasticky stuff that's on here, so we're going to probably strip this down, make sure we number all these guys because they're numbered on the ends themselves, so we don't get it all confused, and relume it to make it look a little bit more pretty than this plasticky junk. I think this just looks cheap and cheesy, so we'll have to get to that. Yeah, cool. Let's test fit these on and make sure that they work. So also I got just an Evo Energy 10AN breather kit, PTFE. I like PTFE because it's actually, I think, easier to assemble than the other stuff. Also, the hose outer diameter is much smaller than a 10AN in the other style. Does that make sense? And I enjoy, like I said, I'm more comfortable putting these things together than the other ones. And well, all I have to do is just breathe vapor and crankcase pressure. So I don't think we're going to have an issue there whatsoever. You do need some 12 AN or B to 10 AN fitting, because that's what goes in the valve cover there. And hopefully we can work off that and make everything fit and look pretty and a little bit cleaner than what I got going on. Cool. Also, is that missing a gasket? No, it's on there. All right. Awesome. Okay, test fit. Let's go. So not 2 seconds into this, I'm already having fitment issues. That bolt right there is keeping me from putting this guy all the way up on there. But there's plenty of thread left over there, so I think I'm going to take that guy out, cut that guy off, or at least as flush as I can. That should solve the problem. I'm first going to test fit it with that not in there. So I'm going to have to undo the belt here. Not a big deal. Get that pulley out of there with that bolt and then work my way forward. Valve covers are on. They're clearing everything just great. I mean, I don't have that bolt in there, but once I cut that thing off, it's going to clear no problem. I'm mocking up my AN fittings for the hoses for the vents. And this is going to work out awesome. Just a short little hose there. But I do need another 90 for this side, so I had to order that. I got to wait till tomorrow. Thankfully, Amazon can get it to me tomorrow in order to complete that section there. I did go ahead and mock up. So this is the coil assembly here. And I just placed it on every single spot just to make sure that I had ample clearance for these things, and I totally do. So what I think I'm going to do now is actually pull the valve covers back off, and I'm going to mock these guys up on here, and then take those harnesses, which are somewhere, I think they're over there, and kind of relume them so that they're a lot cleaner, and then they just kind of plug in, and then they're designated for the distance that they need to be. And then that way, they just look cleaner. So yeah, let me get to that. I'll take those off, redo the loom, and then I think I should be able to paint those guys. Cool. Got one wiring set stripped, all kind of mocked up. I did take these brackets. I had them this way, but I flipped them this way because otherwise I wouldn't be able to plug these guys in because this section would run into the fuel rail if I had it up because it shoves it up further. Little details, I guess. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to wrap this all and kind of make it look nice and pretty using some of this electrical tape that looks kind of like gaffer tape, but not really. Works well for that. I did the same thing to the setup that was on there before, so I shouldn't have any kind of like weird reading issues because, you know, these are kind of looped on each other. I didn't want to cut or splice into anything. Just kind of like plugged it all in and taped it up where it was all nice and snug. And once it's on the car, this will all just kind of get pushed down. And it will hide kind of like right next to the valve cover itself and behind it. So I think it's going to work out pretty dang good and a lot better than this cheap crap. Cool. Okay. One down, one to go. Welcome to my paint booth. Not really, just a piece of cardboard. Got that all wiped down with some wax and grease remover. And then I went ahead and taped off the areas that you saw that I don't want paint on them. For paint, I'm going to use the same stuff I've always used. The Duplicolor wheel coating paint. It's the bronze. What is the number on here? HWP 105 bronze. Will it focus? Probably not. That's what I use. But I will warn you, because when I did my wheels, I ordered a set of this stuff on Amazon, and what came was a different color. Like, it was a lot more orange than brown. So use at your own risk. Just know that. And then after that, I've got the matte wheel clear coat that I use. So there was a sticker on there, but they blanked it out for some reason. So that's cool. Yeah, let me get these painted. I'm actually going to let this stuff sit overnight because it's actually pretty late. My goal is just to get these things in paint after mock-up, let that dry, and then hopefully tomorrow I can just go ahead and quickly assemble everything. It's the next day. Paint is dry. I just got done assembling these valve covers with the coils and everything on them, ready to go into the car. I think these things look pretty snazzy. Does come with these baffles, so you got to make sure you screw those in. I did put a little bit of Loctite on these guys. They are self-tapping, but I just, you don't want loose bolts falling down in there. And this section actually goes down into the head, so it gets maximum breathing without any kind of oil splashage. It doesn't come with your bolts to bolt it down with, but I had some new ones, so that's what I use. So these are just some factory ones that you can use. You do have the option of ordering them if you want them to come with a kit, and also gaskets. You can order those too with the kit if you want them, but I actually had some of these Velcros lying around. I ended up looming up this new assembly. I think this is a lot cleaner here. We'll just tuck that down in there once that's there. It does come with like a cap block off for one side, an oil fill for the other side, but then you do have to buy your 12 AN or B2, either 10 AN or 12 AN, depending on how big you want your breathers to be. So that's what these guys are, ready in to go. Yeah, let's throw them in. Hopefully I can make all of this fit inside the engine bay without having to like move anything else out of my way. So yeah, these look cool. I like these. Nice. All right, I'm excited. Throw them in. Got them in. Not without issue though. This whole area right here is very tight. So I actually had to move the dipstick. It was here, but now it's here. So I kind of forcefully moved it out of my way in order to get the valve cover on, and I had to take this whole assembly off, these two coils and the bracket and everything, to slide it down in there. Not a big deal. That's a me problem, but it is in, and if I ever have to take it out, obviously I got to take note of that, of just that whole section right there has got to come apart. But I do like the way they look. They're very clean. Very nice. I did have to zip tie those two together. So it's a zip tie around a zip tie in order to keep clearance of the steering shaft there. But that side went on no problem. Got them plugged in, and I'm working on, well, the routing for the new vents. So I got a 90 there, 90 there, 45, and then a 90 there. So they all ready to go. I just got to make up my hoses to each one. This little section I'm a little worried about because it's a very short run, but I think that little bit of curve in there won't really matter because this engine combination is pretty solid mounted to the frame itself. So not a lot of flex really has to happen there. I gotta make sure I nail my distance on that to make sure that it can still like screw together without having any kind of issue whatsoever. So cool. Let me get to that. I'll make these lines quick a minute, and then this whole valve cover situation should be wrapped up. Let's do everybody's favorite thing and put together some PTFE hose. If you guys haven't seen this before, I don't know what to tell you. I'm probably not the best example to learn from, but we're going to go ahead and assemble these. I actually like these a lot better than everything else because they're not terrible to put together. And if you do it correctly, get a nice look. So first we're going to measure how much hose you need, obviously. So on the PTFE hoses, when I measure mine out, I just take it apart, take the barrel out, and I assemble it with just that end on there, and then I'll slip the hose on that end, and then wrap it around to wherever it needs to end to on the other fitting. Make a mark, and we're going to go ahead and cut it. Because I have such a long length here that I'm working with, I just kind of like, I didn't eyeball it, but you know, you make a good guesstimation. I'm gonna go ahead and use this cutoff wheel in order to cut this. Some guys kind of like tape that off with some electrical tape. You can do that, kind of keeps it from flaring out on you, but I don't ever find that to be a problem. So I don't do that at all. Now you're gonna want to clean these out, especially if you're gonna run fuel through them, because that'll clog up your injectors real quick. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna spray a little bit of cleaner in there and then blow it out with air. All right, so next up, you wanna put your fitting on. If you don't do this now, it's never gonna work. Bam, fitting passed. And then the ferrule needs to go, well, in between the white and the metal sleeving, like the inner liner, the metal sleeving. So I sometimes take a small screwdriver. I'm just gonna pry that open a little bit. Just enough to kind of get this ferrule started on there. And you're just going to want to make sure you're square and let it know who's boss. So most kits come with this tool here, and I'm going to put a little bit of assembly lube on here. I like to use this Earl's, well, it's Earl's fitting assembly lube. I bought a big jug of it, or a big bottle of it not too long ago, and it has lasted for a very long time. So Definitely something you're going to want. I mean, you could obviously use like WD-40 or something else, some kind of lubrication. You just don't want to go in dry. You know what I mean? It's not a good feeling for anybody involved. You just want to make sure that inner lining, I don't know if you guys can see that, is flush. There's like a lip at the very end of here. So you want to make sure that guy's flush with the ferrule itself to ensure that it doesn't kind of like fall off when you put this thing together. So now we can just go ahead and assemble it onto the actual fitting itself. You can get like those soft jaw clamps that are specially made for AN lines and stuff like that. But honestly, I just use some aluminum angle that I have lying around, little scrap pieces. Put it in my vise. Just give this guy a good squeeze. But you got to make sure, like, obviously your end is flush with the end of the vise so that you can get well, your hose all the way on there. Because if you start screwing it in, and then all of a sudden you run out of room because your vise is in your way, yeah, that's not good either. Take the assembly lube again, put it on the threads, put it on the little end there, rub it around. We're simply just going to slide this guy on. Boom, all the way on. And then the fitting goes on. We're just going to start twisting. Make sure that goes on smoothly. You don't want to cross thread this at all. Then make sure your hose really doesn't move on you because you don't want it to push out. I do have these, so get yourself a set of aluminum adjustable AN wrench. Helps from keeping this guy from being all scratched up and looking like you don't know what you're doing, which most of the time I don't. And then we just twist her on. Bam! There you go. And I like to line up my fitting with the fitting. Does that make sense? So that it's all one. It looks, and it's not, so it looks nice. That's what I'm trying to say. I got to do this end. Also, fair warning, that wire will get you. Like, it will poke you. You will bleed. It's inevitable, especially if you do these lines. Like, it's not a fun job by any means. There we go. Just like that, you got a hose. And they have, they pivot and stuff, so you can get them to line up where you want them to line up. Sweet. Yeah, just gotta put this on, and we're done. Hoses are on. This looks way better because before we had a hose going from here all the way up to the front here. Just a lot more cleaner of an area there. This little short guy wasn't too bad to make either. Nice little bend in it so that it has plenty of flex so you can attach it. This back one, a little tight that we just made, but totally works. Very nice. But then, like, I was looking at the car while I was doing this whole belt cover assembly. Like, this is looking clean. I like it. And then my OCD was like, hey, you know what else we should do? We should probably get rid of all of this cluster that we got going on here. Looks just a lot going on. I think we can clean this up. The way we can do that is some different fuel rails. So I did go ahead. I ordered some Holley fuel rails specifically for LS9 LSA style. But what sucks about that is that, I don't know if you can see it, but there's these little ears back here, right? That the blower has on it that are there for what reason I don't know, maybe structure or casting or what have you, but those got to be cut off for the way I want to redo the fuel system. Reason why I also want to redo the fuel system is because this is my return line right here, right? And it goes into the fuel pressure regulator, but this is only 4AN and it's basically a pressure test area that you take the I don't even know what you call those, the little center thing out and replace it with a cap to 6AN 6AN2 fuel pressure regulator. And sometimes I notice that when I go higher in RPM, that my fuel pressure actually goes higher. And I don't know if because this is a restriction or what, but either way, I ordered them. And I know I can get some money back on this fuel rail itself because it was brand new when I first assembled the car, thrown on eBay for a couple $100 and hopefully recoup a little bit of that. But that's going to be another one. We're that stuff's on order. So this one, we're just going to call this a win on getting the valve covers done and the new hoses in. I like it a lot. It looks good. And there we go, you guys. Brian Tooley Racing valve covers are in. I like them a lot. I like how clean they are. I like how there's no logo on them whatsoever. They're painted to match the way that the coils mount up and everything. I just think it's a cleaner look. Plus, it'll help it breathe a lot better because especially on the driver's side, I mean, it was so tiny in order to get all that crankcase pressure out of there. Definitely is going to help it from blowing that remain seal out because I don't ever want to have to go through that again. That sucked, to be honest with you. If you guys made it this far in the video, really appreciate it. Hit that like and subscribe because, well, I'm gonna install fuel rails next, so I'm gonna get to go into pulling this whole blower and everything off again for the 100 millionth time. So that's hot rodding. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.